Let us remain standing for a moment of silence for our men and women serving this great country across the globe, around the globe, our military forces. And at the same time, please let us remember John McCain, our senator. Thank you. You may have a seat.
Public hearing notice, Rockland County Shared Service Initiative Plan. Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held by the Rockland County Shared Service Initiative Panel to discuss and obtain public input on the Rockland County Shared Service Initiative Plan. For more information on the Shared Service Initiative Plan, go to New York State Department of State website. The hearing will be held as follows. Date and time, September 5th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Place, Suffern Village Hall, 61 Washington Avenue, Suffern, New York. Americans with Disabilities Act notice to request accommodations for a disability. Please call the County Executive's Office, 845-638-5122. Please request those accommodations 3 days in advance to the meeting so that we can seek to meet your needs. This was dated August 3rd, 2018. It was signed by Edwin J. Day, County Executive and Chair of the Rockland County Shared Service Initiative Panel.
Good evening, and thank you for joining me at the final Shared Service public hearing. For those here tonight who don't know me, I am Suffern Mayor Ed Markunas, and on behalf of the Rockland County Shared Service Panel, I welcome you to tonight's hearing. The opportunity for Suffern to explore shared service projects is a further example of our commitment to fiscal responsibility. Suffern is particularly interested in furthering evaluating the possibility of a sewer consolidation which has the potential to significantly benefit Suffern taxpayers and the taxpayers of other municipalities. The Sewer Consolidation Initiative is an example of how Suffern and Rockland County can benefit from the infrastructure that Suffern is uniquely able to provide to its residents. We are also looking forward to participating in joint procurement projects for cooperative purchasing and records management with BOCES. And I am looking forward to teaming with Rockland County in the Shared Service Initiative as a further example of fiscal responsibility measures that will benefit the taxpayers of Suffern and Rockland County. The entire goal of this initiative was to find ways to improve services while saving taxpayer dollars, and I believe this plan accomplishes the task. I thank you all for sharing your input during the last two public hearings, and I look forward to hearing what you have to say tonight. Now I would like to introduce Stephen Powers, the Director of Public Policy and Intergovernmental Relations for Rockland County. Stephen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, and thank you all for joining me at the final of the 3 shared service public hearings. I'm Stephen Powers, the Director of Public Policy and Intergovernmental Relations for Rockland County. County Executive Day was unable to attend tonight's meeting. We are streaming live on the Rockland County Government Facebook page so that residents who aren't able to attend can still be informed about the projects we believe will not only save you money, but improve services. Tonight, the Village of Suffern is hosting us. I would like to thank Mayor Markunas and his Village Board for sharing their space and time this evening. The current draft of the 2018 Rockland County Shared Service Initiative Plan is estimated to save the county, towns, villages, school districts, and fire districts who are members just over $4.5 million in 2019 and over $19.5 million in 2020. The money saved in 2019 may also be eligible for matching funds from New York State. Just so you know, these figures were adjusted for this particular meeting due to the fact that we're removing the shared service and health insurance part of the plan. Okay, now please keep in mind these numbers are preliminary and subject to change. The purpose of this plan is to explore ways to improve and consolidate services to save our taxpayers money. It was written from the ground up with municipalities, districts offering suggestions for inclusion driven by their ideas. The county executive is proud to have worked with these municipalities in developing these ideas. One of the clearest examples of shared services done well is that of animal control. The county, towns, and villages are all working together to fund the High-Tour Animal Care Center. This saves the individual towns from having to build their own shelters, saving all of us money on our tax bills. That's the true goal of the Shared Service Initiative, bringing together these different municipalities and districts to improve services to their residents while saving money. We have heard the concerns of taxpayers loud and clear. As governments, schools, and fire districts, we must find efficiencies and cost savings whenever possible. And as the county executive mentioned earlier, in his other speeches, and I mentioned today, that these projects are also eligible for matching funds from New York State. Yesterday, County Executive Ed Day announced on behalf of the Rockland County Shared Service Panel that the proposed health insurance project will be removed from the 2018 Shared Service Plan. Shared Services panel members included every town and village in Rockland County, along with the several school districts and fire districts. County executive said, "We learned a great deal from the comments of those who attended the public hearings, and we thank those who came to speak. This is exactly how the process is designed to work. Given the concerns raised during the first two public hearings, it is the intention of the Shared Service Panel, members, myself included, to vote to remove the health insurance plan from the Shared Service Plan." As part of good governance and prudent financial policy, we investigate every possible savings to be proper stewards of taxpayer money. We govern by exploration and study, not ignorance nor the status quo. It is that type of strategy that is responsible for the near miraculous turnaround we have seen here in Rockland County over the past 4 years. At this time, I would like to introduce Andy Stewart, the consultant from Hudson Valley Patterns for Progress, to discuss aspects of the plan.
Thank you, Stephen. Can everybody hear me back there? I hope so. I know the fans are going, and Mayor Markunas and his staff are trying to keep it cool here. We have a request to shut off the fan. I don't know if you're going to get popular support on that because it's part of the climate control plan.
Can we all hear? Can everyone hear in the back? No? Okay, can someone shut off one fan for now? Let's try it with one fan. Is that better? Okay, so we'll just leave one fan on. You have to excuse us, it's the AC system went down here in the auditorium. I'm sorry.
That's a great example of the art of compromise there. We've got one fan on and one fan off. Everybody can hear a little better, but not everybody is perfectly happy. I'm happy to be here with you tonight. I've had the privilege of working with the County Executive's Office and the department heads of county government, as well as all of our wonderful village mayors and town supervisors, fire districts, school districts, and others who have been meeting regularly for some months now, actually going back into last year, trying to figure out ways to build on what already is an existing system of shared services. And we're all familiar with some examples of this. You know, you might live in a town where the town will plow the state road because it just makes more sense than having the state highway department come and do it. Or you might be in a place where the village is using town highway department or building department or other services rather than having their own. Well, those are examples of shared services, and the one that Stephen mentioned before is the animal control, which is a shared countywide service. So the goal of this project, which is actually, it was initiated because the state of New York required county executives to convene supervisors and mayors to take a look at the existing systems and try to build on them in ways that would both improve services and also eliminate duplication or other wasteful spending. So there was a requirement, and the law has guided our process, including having these public hearings and ultimately ultimately the submission of a draft plan, which is due in a week or so. And as Stephen mentioned a minute or two ago, I know a lot of folks are here about the health care question, which was on the list for items to research, because last year all of the mayors and supervisors were surveyed on probably about 25 or 30 different topics. You know, what costs your government a lot of money? Where would you like to work together? The healthcare issue is on there. We did our due diligence on that. I think we had a pretty fruitful investigation, and the county executive has decided to pull that item from the plan. And so when the vote occurs on September 12th, the vote of the panelists, the mayors and supervisors and others on the panel, that item will not go forward as part of our plan. The status of the plan, and I want people to understand this, if you've been concerned about one or another topic, which I'll review them quickly in a minute, it's a plan. In other words, the idea is get people together, get them talking in new ways. And believe me, you know, we've had meetings where people who do similar work but haven't really had the chance to share their knowledge have done so, and ideas come out of that. Pretty geeky kind of technical stuff, sometimes related to how IT departments can combine forces and maybe share licenses for new software and things like that. These meetings have been very productive, and they've led to roughly a little over 24 proposals that the folks in these various sectors of government would like to continue working on. We've had people from IT services, tax assessment, a lot of work by highway superintendents, and I wish for all of you, those of you who haven't been involved directly in local government in your lives, I want you to know that, you know, our highway superintendents get together, the village, the town, and the county, and they already have each other's backs in times of storms and when there's need. And in many cases, there are examples of large pieces of equipment that are shared because it makes more sense than to buy your own. An example is that machine that puts stripes on the road, those double yellows or the white. The county has one of those, and our county highway superintendent, Skip Vizzetti, you know, he understands that that's very useful to all the towns and others maintaining roads. And so that machine gets loaned out at the cost of the operators and the maintenance in a way that's much more cost effective than if each town had to buy one for themselves when they're doing their paving project or hire a private sector or rent one. So that's an example. In all of these meetings, they run the gamut of every single department you can think of, from clerks to courts to police to highway, tax assessment, IT, these sort of back office functions, have all come together, and we're pretty proud of the proposals. They're not, what's in this plan is probably half of the ideas that were discussed. Many of them, you know, the folks at the table said, you know, sounds interesting, but we just don't know enough yet, or probably wouldn't make sense. The ones that are in the plan are there for further exploration in the hopes that they can be implemented in 2019 and 2020. And so this plan is for those 2 years with a focus on 2019. The plans that are implemented, if a couple of towns, you know, kind of jump on board with borrowing equipment from the county highway department, for example, if they're able to show that they saved tax dollars, money that you would have had to have paid, then the incentive from the state is that those towns can apply for matching funds. So if they save $10,000 by avoiding renting a big piece of equipment because they borrowed it instead, then they'll be able to make application to the state. They have to show the savings at the end of the year. Which brings me to, I wanted to reiterate a very important point that Stephen made earlier, which is the budget numbers in this plan are estimates. The savings associated with any particular project depends on how many municipalities jump on board and actually implement it. So please, you know, when 2019 rolls around or 2020, you know that we've tried to balance being conservative in terms of obviously not creating exaggerated figures, but also, you know, somewhat aspirational. Like we want these things to work, and we believe they will save money. But what really needs to happen going forward after the plan is submitted to the state is that all the parties to these agreements have to get together and make those plans a reality. And in the implementation of them, they will no doubt change a little bit and evolve. Some might be cast aside, others might grow. And so I want to give you a few examples of the plans here. And I understand that 95% of the people who are here tonight are out here because they had concerns about the idea of having a health insurance pool for retirees. And I respect that. I know you want me to be quick because you want to get up to the podium, make your comment, and get out the door. Maybe you've got plans to go someplace air-conditioned or something like that. But having said that, I am obligated, and I do want to ask for your patience for a minute, just to tell you a little bit about all the different projects, because you'll go out and you'll tell people what the shared services thing is about, and hopefully more good ideas will come to the table because of that. So just a quick list. The animal shelter, most folks are aware of it. It's in Pomona. It's in dire need of reconstruction. The facilities are dilapidated, and all the towns pay into that to avoid having to have their own shelter. And so we've worked hard on envisioning how that project is going to evolve and how the towns can collaborate further. With the support of the county, which plays a critical role, the county is financing capital improvement at the shelter, and the towns are essentially paying operational costs. But let's bear in mind, there's a group of people up there running a nonprofit organization who are raising money, and they need help, they need volunteers, and their fundraising helps to keep taxes lower because the cost, the required services for dogs and so on, which might be collected by a animal control officer, you know, you have to provide that, and they're working hard at doing that. BOCES contract services. BOCES, you're probably aware, is an educational organization which serves all of the school districts. And they do everything from staff training to special ed, fixing school buses. Well, it turns out that a lot of the things that they do for school districts have application to villages and towns as well. And so they're looking to offer those services, and to the extent that villages and towns can work together, in some cases they can get a better deal, say on an IT project from BOCES than they might get otherwise, especially if they work together. So that's another example. And I've mentioned IT a bunch of times, and we all know how important computers are, and they have to be upgraded and networked and information shared back and forth. And there's a lot of work that goes into that, and so we've had a bunch of meetings related to that, and there's a couple of proposals in the plan that would specifically target the sharing of data between the county finance and taxation office and the assessors in the towns, so that their lives will be a little easier, they can save some time, and they can share their lists of who's paid their taxes and who hasn't, and so on. We're taking out the health insurance for retirees, so you can forget about that one. The highway department equipment sharing, I mentioned a couple of examples. You can imagine all the different ways that takes place. It's not just heavy equipment, it's also engineer services, it's road inspections, it's a whole host of things that highway departments have in common. Recently, I live in town of Orangetown, and the highway department there is very near and dear to me, and I also live in the village of Nyack, which we have a wonderful DPW. And recently, the village of Nyack worked with Orangetown Highway to pave a village street that got done quicker and more cheaply than it would have been done if they had to go out and get a contractor to do it. So that's the kind of thing that happens, and we want to support that and increase it wherever possible. There's some conversation in the village of Spring Valley related to the police department and its relationship with the town of Ramapo and town of Clarkstown, and talking about a plan to study the benefits of a possible merger. I have no idea where that stands right now, but it's in the list as a possibility for the future. One of the most exciting areas, which is also the kind of thing that, you know, if you're having trouble falling asleep at night, you'd want me to tell you a lot about because it put you right to bed. But every government department has to buy stuff, right? Mary Markunas knows that because he's running town hall here, and you know, you're getting copiers, you're getting paper, you're getting licenses for software, you're buying police cars and vests and weapons, a whole host of things for every department. Opportunities, as the mayor mentioned, to collaborate on purchasing is a great way to find efficiencies in government. And the county of Rockland has a very sophisticated purchasing department run by a gentleman named Paul Brennan, and he's led efforts to train and inform and support villages and towns in working together and taking advantage of some of the cost-saving opportunities that come when people get together and they plan their purchasing together. You know, who's going to buy a dump truck this year? Who needs to buy, maybe I'll go out on energy, electricity and gas together. Or maybe there's a need for services related to engineering. You know, the towns and villages in the county are looking to coordinate their purchasing in order to take advantage of good deals. It's all about purchasing power. But think about how complex that is, right? Because everybody wants to do their own thing. Everybody wants to say, well, this is a particular kind of car I want, this is a particular kind of uniform I want, and you need to have that control. But there are areas where it's possible to collaborate, and we've had some great meetings related to that among highway superintendents, police chiefs, IT folks, and we're looking to support that. And the county really needs to be understood as playing a leadership role in that. And I give a lot of credit to Stephen and his colleagues in helping to convene these meetings and really demanding of their department heads that they don't just think about the county services, but they think about how those offices can be of service to the village and the towns too. And I think there's a lot of promise in that area. The mayor mentioned the sewer district consolidation. You know, most folks are happy they can flush the toilet and not have to worry about it. We live in a first world country, and we should be thankful for that. But that costs a lot of money, and there are opportunities to integrate those systems, not just in terms of the pipes and where they might connect, but also administratively. You know, all of the wastewater treatment plants have to meet state regulations for water quality. That's very expensive. They need to procure engineering services and make designs and improvements. They can do that together. And actually tomorrow, we're doing a series of interviews with engineering companies that responded to a request for proposals that really was groundbreaking. It was all the sewer districts working together saying, you know what, we all have to upgrade our systems. Let's take a look at this together. We're going to go out and we're going to see if we can contract with an engineering company to show us how we can work together. So we'll see how that goes. I've said enough. I want to just wrap back around by saying that a lot of these ideas have kind of bubbled up through governments, through local actors. Most of you folks are here today to let us know your thoughts about the healthcare thing, but don't shy away from other topics. You know, if there's things that you've noticed in your community, examples of things that work well, this is your opportunity to tell us about that. And again, on September 12th, the panel will have its final review of the draft plan. The health insurance issue will be out. Maybe other stuff will be in. We'll see. And we'll shoot that off to the state budget office and turn our attention on how to implement these projects in 2019. I hope I've done enough to...
Good job.
Okay.
Good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And before we start the public hearing, just to go over it, because the savings are adjusted from what was in the draft plan and what you see on a board out here, the savings for 2019 should be just over 4.5 million, and for 2020, it should be close to over 9 million, close to $9.5 million. I'm going to read the rules for the public hearing, and then we'll start the public hearing. I have 8 names. I'm going to read 2 at a time so we can move this and get out of here due to the lack of air conditioning.
Extreme heat.
Okay, or extreme heat. Rules of the public hearing. 1, you must sign in before you speak. 2, the speaking time may be limited. You will be permitted at least 2 minutes of speaking time through the close of the meeting. 3, the public hearing will be closed by 8:30. Yeah, but it'll be over before 8:30 since we only have 8 speakers. The public hearing is not a question and answer session. 5, you will have 1 opportunity to speak for each public hearing held by the panel. 6, your comments exceed the speaking time allotted to you, you are free to submit them in writing. And number 7, your comments are being taken down for the record by a stenographer. The first 2 names are Rhoda Appel and Leah Tomor.
before I start speaking and you start timing me, we have a sheet that says Protect Retiree Health Benefits. If you have not signed it, we need you to put your name and your contact information so that we can reach you if there are any issues or problems that arise. So I'm going to pass this around. If anybody hasn't signed it, please do. Okay, now you can start. Okay. All right. My name is Rhoda Appel. I am a Rockland County retiree, a taxpayer, a voter, and a Pomona Village resident. I really take offense, and maybe I shouldn't have started the clock yet, but I take offense to the fact that the only person that has been at any of these meetings, first of all, Ed Day is not here now, all right? I mean, I came with a completely conciliatory speech to thank him. He's not here to hear it. Also, this is the first time anybody from the Shared Services Committee has been here, and I thank you, Mayor, for being here, all right? All right, now you can start. Okay, I was very moved by the outpouring of love and respect for Senator John McCain. As a lifelong Democrat, I marveled at the comments about how he worked across the aisle for the good of the citizens of America with both political parties. He called it country first. He admitted to not being perfect and sometimes making mistakes. I am heartened that Mr. Day is admitting that he has made a mistake, and he is taking the retiree health insurance pool out of the draft service plan. As you have learned, good health care is not a shared service, it is an earned benefit. I am glad you realize he was tinkering with human lives and that retirees' benefits cannot be lumped in with garbage maintenance and road repair. In retrospect, was it worth saving the county 12 cents a day in taxes and possibly a lot less after the first year due to the experience rate? Older people are sicker than younger ones and therefore cost the for-profit insurance company more money, passing that cost on to the government agency. It's a win-win for the profit insurance company and a lose-lose for the municipality and the retirees. Incidentally, in talking to various municipal leaders, it was reported this was Mr. Day's priority, not theirs. The town of Ramapo and BOCES were never planning on participating. All right, I was thanking him for honoring his retirees and restoring our faith in him by removing this item from the shared service list. On a positive note, as a result of this shared service plan affecting retiree health care, we've established a Facebook page and a list of hundreds of retirees with their contact information. We will remain diligent to this to protect all municipal retirees, both county, town, village, school, fire districts alike, to protect and provide a forum from which retirees can voice their concerns. We will monitor the county web page and this county purchasing website page as well. We've become a block vote, and we will be watching to make sure that the next shoe does not drop. Thank you.
Lee Tamor, Barbara Mickenberg.
Linchenberg is the last name.
Mickenberg.
Is this on? Okay. May I start? Okay. So I speak as a retired county employee. Hopefully the health plan is being pulled, as you said, but just in case there's a last-minute change, I begin by stating that this meeting is a farce and an insult to my intelligence. Why do I say this? Well, for one, we emphatically told you in February that we completely disapproved of the plan. We supposed that ended the matter. What was your response then? The changes were dropped and the issue was resolved, or so we thought. How can you say it will not impact our coverage?
Just speak into the microphone.
Speak. Don't take those 2 seconds out. How can you say it will not impact our coverage? It is well known that Medicare and Medicare Advantage are not the same. Medicare Advantage is an advantage only to the company pushing it. Medicare does not need to be managed. We worked for many years, secure in the belief that the county had our best interests at heart, in the mistaken belief that we could trust the county to uphold its commitments. We came out strongly against this change in plan in February, and now you have the audacity to resubmit it, cloaking it in a different name, shared services. You emphasize that the benefits will remain the same, or even better. Who? Are you kidding? It's a blatant conflict of interest. For-profit companies are incentivized to delay or deny coverage as they can keep any monies left over at the end of the year.
30 seconds.
An example of reduced coverage. Up until now, our physicians prescribed radiological studies such as CAT scans or MRIs. These were automatically covered by Medicare. Now we need approval from the company before these important and possibly life-saving techniques can be implemented. I've read what other employees have written and have paid close attention to their speeches. How many times do we need to repeat? We do not want a change. It is not equal to what we have. Many doctors continue to advise their patients not to give up Medicare.
Time's up.
All senior citizens are entitled to Medicare. You have no right to take it away.
Barbara Mickenberg, Jan Jason.
Well, needless to say, I am very appreciative and thankful that the health coverage portion of the shared services initiative was pulled. Hopefully, it was pulled, and we're not going to hear too much more about it. Because, as I think was said before, that we retired, and part of our retirement package included the security of knowing that we would receive the same medical coverage that we had been receiving when working. And this, even though it was posed, the plan was posed that it was going to be equal, it was not equal. And firstly, it was a Medicare Advantage plan. I think Leah mentioned the disadvantages, the fact that the company, we're not being on Medicare anymore, and the company will keep whatever wasn't paid. But also that it was not universally accepted. I went on some websites, the Hospital for Special Services, where I had been a patient for knee replacement surgery, and I looked on it, and I was really appalled to see that it actually said Medicare was accepted, traditional Medicare, but it said, and I'll quote, if I can find the quote, it said the Hospital of Special Surgery is not an in-network provider for Aetna's Medicare Managed Care Advantage plan. It just blatantly said that. And also I went to the website for the Columbia Presbyterian Medical Center, and I looked up traditional Medicare, fine, Aetna, and they listed several of Aetna's plans, and they did not include the Advantage plan.
30 seconds.
Oh boy. And doctors too, I had two doctors. One of the doctors said that they would not accept my Aetna. I would have to pay out of net. I would just have to pay up front because they've had bad experience with Aetna. So thank you. Let's hope that this has been put to rest. Thank you.
Jan Jason, Yak Sadarin.
My comments are directed to Mr. Day, although he is not here. I trust, Mr. Powers, that you will ask him to please read the record and/or watch the video. Your recent statement said that you learned a great deal from the comments at the public hearings, which begs the questions: why weren't you aware of the significant negative impact a Medicare Advantage plan would have on county retirees when you first tried to switch last January? When there was so much opposition and so much information presented, why didn't you look into the details then instead of sneaking it into the shared services plan a few months later and think we wouldn't notice? No one, including many of the members of the shared services panel, wants to change existing retiree health insurance benefits except you, Mr. Day. So we ask you, are we done with this now? Has the information we took the time to research, speak, write, call, and email about 6 months ago and now convinced you? Or is the effort to switch retiree health insurance to a clearly unacceptable plan threatening our health care, going to rear its ugly head again? When is the next foreseeable future? Can we now enjoy the retirement we worked so hard for without continually having to watch our backs? Although, Mr. Powers, you stated this was not a question and answer forum, I would like to request an answer in writing from Mr. Day to the following.
30 seconds.
Your agenda says at least 2 minutes, so please don't cut me off. Is the county going to continue its contract with Siegel Consulting? Will the county or Siegel be issuing another RFP for retiree health insurance benefits? And if so, when? For the last 10 years of my career, I worked to develop, administer, and monitor contracts on behalf of the Department of Social Services and the county. As you directed, Mr. Day,
Time's up.
we executed our duty and responsibility to hold agencies accountable to provide what they promised to deliver for the health and welfare of citizens. Why isn't your office holding itself to the same standards when it comes to retirees?
All right, Mr. Saturn says he doesn't want to speak. The next two speakers are Bill Weber and Michael Perrietti.
Bill Weber, 16 Rosehill Road, Montebello. I want to thank the members of the Shared Services Committee for doing what I think is a necessary thing that's been long in the making. I'm glad that there's Democrats, Republicans getting together with the various towns and villages within Rockland County to try and deal with the main issue that's affecting most families within Ramapo. You know, when I ran for office last year in Ramapo, most families would tell me that they're only going to be staying in Ramapo until their kids graduate high school because they can't afford to live here anymore. And the main reason why they can't live here anymore is their taxes are too high. So I think that by starting having the shared services is a good start. I think Andy Stewart laid it out very well, and I think the items in there are, for the most part, excellent. I know that the healthcare issue was taken off the table last night, and I think that's good, and I think that should be studied further with a lot of time and a lot of effort, bringing current people that are in the plan and the retirees into a conversation. Now, why do I say that? I say that because, you know, the biggest expense right now within the most villages' budgets are not only the police department, public safety department, but it's the health and it's the retirement benefits within the various villages. And one of the speakers said that we deserve everything that we were promised when we worked for the county. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. But what I think we need to do is we need to look at not the retirees, but people that are coming into the government right now to possibly change the packages that are being offered going down the road. Because if you look at the recent LOHUD article, and talks about the various police and other salaries that are going on within Rockland County, we have one of the highest pay scales in New York State. And I think we need to be proactive and look at these things on a global basis so that those families that I met throughout Ramapo and Rockland County will be able to live here going forward, because I think most people that are here made a decision to buy their home, that want to be here, want to see their grandkids being raised here. And if we don't deal with the big issues, I think we're going to not see those people being able to afford to stay here. So I'm glad that the health insurance thing is not changed, but I still think we need to look at things on a macro basis down the road, where you have people that are coming into government jobs right now to maybe tier some of those stuff so that we can change and make the appropriate changes that I think are all necessary right now. So I want to thank the Shared Services Committee, and I hope that this is not just the end. I'm hoping that these conversations with the towns and the villages and the county can continue, because I think these shared services
shouldn't necessarily stop with the 10 items that are on there, but I think you'll find that these will grow into, like Andy Stewart said, many other items that I think villages and towns and schools will see are things that overlap and that things can be done more efficiently and effectively. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming tonight, and I want to thank you for listening to my comments.
Michael Perrietti, Sandra Kahn.
Mike Perrietti, 6 Book Rock Road, Suffern, New York. I want to thank the Shared Services Committee. I understand the pressures there are to try to find efficiencies and synergies because there are budget constraints at the county. I'm very happy to hear that they've removed the retiree health services from the equation because naturally it's it's understandable that retirees would be very apprehensive about any changes to the plan. So I think that is very good. I'm happy to hear that. I do think, in Ed Day's defense, he did inherit a fiscal disaster when he took over, and he's had to dig himself out of that. So I think he's felt a lot of pressure to try and rectify the situation. I think he's made a lot of mileage, and I'm glad that the retiree health benefits is not going to be part of that anymore. The one thing I would point out, I think is interesting, is that from what I understand is that Rockland County has the highest Medicaid bill of any county in the state, and that's including each of the boroughs in New York City separately. And the reasons for that is grounded in a demographic analysis of the county, which is, a story for another day. But the interesting thing is that we have to hear, they're discussing cutting retiree benefits, but there's no discussion of trimming back the amount of money that we have to pay towards Medicaid. New York, as far as I understand, is the only state, with the exception of California, and California doesn't do it the same way that we do it, that requires counties to pay a portion of the Medicaid cost, which in this case, we have to pay 25% of the Medicaid cost, which the way I understand it is something like $60 million that comes out of our county taxes. And I think it eats up nearly all or most of the property tax as it is. And I think that's something, because retirees have earned their health benefits, whereas people on Medicaid have not necessarily done that. So what's that?
Time's up.
Okay. I would just say there's a bill I think it was put up for Brian Kolb in upstate to take the Medicaid cost off the counties and spread it across the rest of the state, which is the way that I think it should be, would save us $60 million. And I think the problem is I think it needs bipartisan support to get that through. So people on both sides of the aisle should try to get behind that bill so we can make that very important change, which would be a tremendous benefit for the county. Thank you.
Okay, the last 2 speakers, Sandra Kahn and Sally Spiato.
My name is Sandra Kahn. I'm a retiree. I've lived in the county for 56 years, having voted and paid taxes all that time. I worked for the county for 28 years in the mental health center as an emergency room psychiatric therapist and as director of a satellite mental health clinic. I came to thank Mr. Day for reconsidering his position regarding the retiree health plan. However, I feel it's necessary to make everyone aware of the fact that this situation has taken a toll, causing severe anxiety and sometimes physical deterioration for many of the retirees. Dealing with illness is difficult enough, and we shouldn't have to deal with insurance companies who can, arbitrarily, make decisions about our life, death, and/or treatment. Therefore, on behalf of my fellow retirees, I would like reassurance that we will not have to go down this road again in a few months for the 3rd time. However, we would like you to know that we're ready to stand up again if we're necessary.
I'm not sure. Sally Spiato.
Mr. Powers, as I understand you, you are taking the health insurance initiative out of this year, 2018's shared services initiative. That doesn't mean it's not going to be revisited in 2019 and the future. Is that correct?
It's not, we're not here, it's a public hearing.
Okay, so the answer is yes, it is going to come up in the future. Okay.
No, I never said that.
I and many others spoke at 2 previous shared services public hearings about our concerns regarding the loss of traditional Medicare. I urge our local governmental officials who are part of this committee to view the rocklandgov.com Facebook videos of these hearings and to listen to the insights and experience of the people with knowledge of the workings of Medicare Advantage plans such as Aetna. It was explained repeatedly that Medicare Advantage plans are managed care plans and that managed care plans are not equal to or better than traditional Medicare. Further, managed care plans are about maximizing profits, not maximizing care. We have all heard the phrase that less is more. This is not true regarding health care. Fewer covered services, fewer in-network doctors and hospitals, few days or no days in a rehabilitation facility, and less reliance on the judgment and expertise of your doctor do not translate to more for those in need. Having said that, I want to thank our Rockland County legislators for their unending help and efforts on behalf of the retirees and all county taxpayers. And I want to thank the people who set up the Concerned Rockland Retirees website. They populated it with numerous email addresses, very time-consuming.
30 seconds.
Called our homes and worked tirelessly to get the word out that short-term fixes with regard to health care will not bring prosperity to Rockland County. I hope you folks understand that Rockland County needs its older population to remain in the county and be well in order to shop in its stores and eat in its restaurants, to volunteer, and to add to the overall well-being and the tax base of our county. Thank you.
All right, we received one last name, Joe Hunt.
Say it again.
Joe Hunt.
My name is Joe Hunt. I'm CSEA President for Unit 8369 here in Suffern. I'm supporting you guys with the shared service for the simple fact that we've been a stepping stone here in the county with utilizing our resources between Orange County, Bergen County, Westchester County, and here in Rockland. With equipment, manpower, through storms. We've helped out other towns throughout Rockland County with our trucks and equipment. Again, I think this is only going to bring our taxes down, and hopefully it will help all you seniors with your taxes. And then the insurance and getting rid of Aetna was a big thing, because at the first meeting I attended, that was a big, big hurt on my retired employees. Thank you.
All right, that ends the public hearing. We're closing the public hearing. In closing, on behalf of the county executive, I would like to thank everyone in attendance this evening, everyone who watched the live stream on our county Facebook page. Thank you all for your continued involvement in the process. The shared service panel members will vote on the 2018 shared service plan at 5 p.m. Wednesday, September 12th at the Fire Training Center, 35 Firemen's Memorial Drive, Pomona, New York. Thank you.